the other coaches in our league, coaches that have coached in many, many arenas in this country. They'll pull me aside and they'll say, man, there's very few that rival the Cintas Center. So our fan base, I know we're excited to get back in front of them, and I'm just excited for all of us to get back together again.
This is the Sean Miller Podcast, presented by Deer Park Roofing. Now, here's your hosts, Paul Fritschner and Adam Baum, with the head coach of the Xavier Musketeers, Sean Miller.
Welcome into another episode of the Sean Miller Podcast. Paul Fritschner alongside Adam Baum, and to my left, the head coach of the Xavier Musketeers, Sean Miller. As always, we are presented by Deer Park Roofing and the official payroll sponsor of the Sean Miller Podcast, Payroll Partners. Well, Coach, it's been a little while. It's been about a month and a half since the three of us have just sat down and had some fun together.
You've been at least two more weddings.
I have, the last 2 weekends.
Yeah. How many weddings in the last 12 months, if we go back to early September 2023, have you attended, including your own?
So it's 6, but here was the problem. I was in almost all of them. So it was like all of our best friends. We just decided to prop up the wedding industry all in 1 year. So it's bachelor parties, weddings. It was the whole thing. But
have you ever thought that you're too nice?
I've been told that a few times. Yeah, but it's just like, hey, we like to have some fun.
6.
And how do you have time to be that nice to that many different people?
That's just
like,
Paul's
are they all
DNA.
from the same city, the same point in your life? Like, are they college friends,
Yeah,
high
it's
school
basically
friends?
all Xavier people. Loyal listeners of the Sean Miller Podcast.
Yeah.
But
you met the 6 weddings that you were a part of, 6 all in 1 year.
Yeah.
5, because one of them is yours.
Yeah.
Those are people that you met at Xavier.
Yeah, one of them was Lizzie's, one of them was a teacher at Lizzie's school, my wife Lizzie. Otherwise, all my best friends.
That's the other thing. Like, you're not going because of your wife. Lizzie has one wedding in addition to your own. These weddings are yours. Like,
we're pretty much mutual friends.
But if you went beyond 1 year to 2 years, so if we go, it's September 2022.
Yeah.
How many weddings would you have gone to?
I don't think any. I think it's all been in this year, but we have till Memorial Day, and then we have 3 and 4 weeks in Memorial Day, starting a Memorial Day weekend next year.
Right.
I mean, it's just, it just keeps going.
So 9 weddings in about in a little over
a year and a half.
Year and a half.
Yeah, it's just how it rolls.
We worked
If
out.
I told you I've not gone to 9 weddings in my lifetime, would you believe me? I mean, sometimes you get invited, you send a great gift.
Yeah.
Yep.
But it's like, man, that's a lot.
It's fun.
You're a nice guy.
we
Thanks,
worked out yesterday morning, and we sat there and we did the math. And I think what we came up with was, in total, between bachelor parties and time actually at weddings, Paul spent a month this year, like 30 days.
Yeah.
Were dedicated just to bachelor parties and weddings.
Well, but here's the thing. People have come up to me and said, now, look, you did it all in 1 year, and it's not spread out. That's it.
Yeah, we'll see. I mean, we don't know the future is.
That's a great
don't.
point, Coach.
Yeah.
That's a great point. All right, well, as we sit here, today is September 4th, so we're 20 days away as we sit here from the start of official practice. So we're going to talk about some other things. We have the NFL coming up in a few days. You're a big football guy, so we'll get to that in a few minutes. But let's talk basketball here first. 20 days away from practice. John Rothstein tweeted earlier today as we sit here that Jerome Hunter is expected to be fully cleared, barring any setbacks here in the next few weeks. Still going through some final little check marks here. But, just kind of catching up on where we are. Seems like the offseason has progressed pretty well just as a team. Gone through the whole summer workouts, and now here we are with practice, official practice, right around the corner.
Yeah, no, I mean, Paul, it's tricky these days because of the new legislation that's hit us in so many wavelengths, not just one area, but 3, 4, 5 different areas where it's flipped college basketball upside down, and it makes you rethink what you once did. Is that now what you do moving forward? And I don't believe that's just for me. I think generally speaking, college basketball coaching staffs have had to rethink a lot of different things. For example, a lot of people don't realize that once you start your official practice, I guess let's call it September 24th, all of college basketball have the same 30 practices before your season opener. You're not allowed 31 or 35. Yeah. You're not going to take 25, I don't think so, or 26. You get 30, and we're all going to try to have the best 30 practices that we can to prepare us for our season opener. And those 30 practices have to be spread out over a 42-day window. So when you take your days off, do you do them at the beginning? Do you take 2 or 3 days off in a row at the beginning? How do you go about it? So the strategy in having the best fall practices of those 30 and 42 days, that's a part of our thinking. But also, what do you do in the summer? You know, you have 8 weeks which you're allowed to work with your team. Most of us are welcoming in a lot of changed faces and new players. So you want to get to know each of these guys individually. They have to get to know each other. There's not a better way for all of us to get to know each other than sharing in the game that we love and being on the court in some way, shape, or form. But how do you do it? In small groups? Do you simulate practice? And then you worry about fatigue. You worry about burnout. You also worry about, are we pushing them hard enough? Are we improving enough? Are we getting ready and progressing? So it really is a completely different dynamic considering the transfer portal, multiple guys transferring, wholesale change from one season to the next, and then how we go about our summer and our fall. You know, the one question that I want to answer is, you know, Zach Freemantle, he had successful surgery a long time ago. Zach's been on the podcast. He's had a great summer. June, July, and August have come and gone. He's been a part of everything that we've done, both on the court and in the weight room. He's in the best shape of his life. I mean, you look at Zach's body, you know, physically how strong he is, his body fat. It's really, I don't know many guys that can have gone through what he has the last 2.5, 3 years and physically look the part that he looks. His discipline is unmatched when it comes to taking care of himself. So he's had a great summer, and now we're trying to follow that up with a great fall to get him ready for game action, because it's been a long time since he's played. The last game that he's played was at Creighton. Not last season, but 2 seasons ago, which would have been our 23rd game of the year that year. So, but the good news is he's graduated, he's healthy, he's had a great summer, and I love to see him go from start to finish and have just a great final year here at Xavier in the Big East. Jerome Hunter, you're right. Jerome had the setback of the torn Achilles. He's right. He's approaching the seventh month mark, which for an Achilles injury with regular rehab and surgery is that time where you're allowed to return to activity. Jerome's been working out. He's getting himself back into shape, and he's able to do everything right now except play 5-on-5 full court. So we watch him every day. He joins us. He's a part of our locker room, everything we do each day. At some point, he doesn't do like the final 20%. Yeah. So he'll get cleared to do that here in a couple of weeks. And then again, like Zach, I think all of us just can't wait to see him out there and hopefully healthy from the beginning all the way till the end.
How are you just like super eager to see your team play against another team, or is that even too far away?
I'm not.
You just
no,
worried?
we have so long. We have so much to work on, and it's so much right now about ourselves, do what we do, learn our system, build our camaraderie and culture. You know, guys show up on time, guys compete at a high level. You know, every player thinks they compete. What's the standard that we have as a program? They have to get used to it. They have to understand it. They have to know this is acceptable, this isn't. We have a lot of players that are coming from different other programs where they've done things different ways. Some extremely well, but right now we're welcoming them into our culture. So we have so much to learn, to do, to grow, and I really think we've accomplished quite a bit. June, July, and August, and now we find ourselves here in September. You know, a learning, growing experience each day, each week, building and trying to be the most ready that we can be for the beginning of the season. Look, back in the day when I played in the late 80s and early 90s, my coach and all the coaches in college basketball would say, we want to hit our stride in March. We want to be at our best in league play. After Christmas is when we want to be the best that we can be. If you really think about today's college basketball model, I don't think there's a more pivotal month than November. Because when you get to March Madness and you listen to the Selection Sunday show and the selection committee and people talking about who's going to make the tournament, who isn't, who's successful and why, they always point towards, well, who did they beat? Who did they beat in non-conference? Who did they play? Who did they schedule? I mean, those games are like the first 10 games of the year. Sometimes they're the first 5 games of the year, right? So you have to be ready in college basketball, like college football, opening weekend. And you just have to be the most consistent you can be, the best you can be, with the hope that, that we do improve and hit our stride at that pivotal point in our season. But you can't take 6 weeks to warm up and figure it out either, because the parity exists in an extreme way these days.
I think we talked about it a little bit a few weeks ago on the show, but just to kind of get back to it, to your point about the non-conference schedule with Xavier this year, you have the one high major home game with Wake Forest, but you have some challenging games on the road. You go down to Fort Myers, play a couple of high major games there. You go to TCU, you go across town to Cincinnati. So there's 5 or 6 high major games right there that you feel like you've set yourself up well with pre-Big East non-conference play this season.
I like our schedule. It's challenging. I mean, our tournament in Fort Myers, Florida, where we open up with South Carolina. If you think about South Carolina's season a year ago, they had one of their best historically ever. They did an amazing job, really an amazing job. And they grew their team from one year to the next in the SEC. They were one of that conference's best teams. So playing them in the opener, and then the next game, win or lose, we're playing Michigan or Virginia Tech. To play both of those games away from the Cintas Center, I mean, those are 2 of the most challenging games that teams will play in the month of November. The crosstown shootout speaks for itself, in particular when it's on the away court. So that's 3. UC is part of the Big 12. A lot of people think that's America's best conference. A lot of people think the Big East is America's best conference. So it's not only a crosstown shootout, but it involves 2 just powerhouse conferences, the Big 12 and the Big East. But it's an away game. So the 3 non-conference games I've named so far are away from home. And then we inherited the game at TCU as part of the Big 12 Big East Challenge in Dallas. Jamie Dixon, I think, is one of the great coaches in our game. Good friend. That's going to be a difficult task. They've become a perennial NCAA tournament program, playing them on their home court. So I've named four programs and teams, all of which are away from home. And then we play Wake Forest as part of the Skip Prosser tradition. And Steve Forbes has done a great job with that program. I think they have a chance to be one of America's top 25 teams. They represent the ACC. We have them at home. We'll need our crowd in full force. But just think about those opportunities and say, by the way, we play 20 regular season Big East games, 10 at home, 10 on the road. And then our 21st Big East game is in Madison Square Garden. So, look, we have plenty of opportunity to play against some of America's best teams, both at home and on the road. And it's going to be really challenging, to answer your question.
Sean, we were talking recently and in reference to the schedule, but I think that your team has a huge advantage in that the very first time your team takes the floor and plays against another team, a different opponent than a practice setting, you're going to be in an environment that is going to be hostile against a fan base that absolutely can't stand Xavier. And I think it's going to be like a great introduction to Xavier basketball for a lot of guys who haven't played together before against another opponent, and that's Dayton.
No doubt. Look, all of us that love Xavier, that have been a part of this program for decades, recognize that the rivalry that supersedes all rivalries was the Xavier-Dayton rivalry, simply because we shared a conference. We didn't just play each other once a year. We always would play each other twice a year, and many times, more than twice, 3 times as part of the conference tournament. How you play, how it felt to go to UD Arena, for us, one of the toughest environments that I've ever experienced, player, coach, ever. and how it felt to play them here in the Cintas Center, where I don't believe we ever lost to them and had a lot of close calls. One of the great home court environments that I've experienced. So 2 passionate, rabid fan bases. They have a lot of pride in their program. So when given the opportunity, it really was twofold. First, Anthony Grant, who I really respect. I've known him for a long time through Billy Donovan, and he was on Billy's staff at Florida for a long period of time. He has a cause in terms of suicide prevention. That's what this game's charity goes towards. The specificity of it, I think, goes to several avenues of it, but it has the state of Ohio, it has youth suicide prevention, and just generally speaking, that when you look at how many young people are considering taking their life, have taken their life, or are affected, families and people of all walks of life, by that word, suicide, it's really alarming, I think, for all of us. So to be a part of that cause, which is very personal and dear to Anthony Grant and his family, for us to be able to be a partner with him, for me to be able to say yes and make this game possible, where that's who benefits the most, that's the main thing of the game, that's 90% of it. The other 10% comes easily when we can get in a bus, prepare to win a game in front of 14,500 people that I know will cheer against us, that will still look at it as a rivalry, and then play a game of meaning to prepare us for these games we've already talked about, the non-conference schedule. And, it's going to allow us to grow, to learn, to become a closer team, to improve, and play against a very quality opponent as well. And then get back on the bus in 45 minutes and be back here in Cincinnati. I just think that last percentage of why we did it is easy. So we'll benefit from that as a team, but our players and all of us will really benefit by just being a part of a cause that is so important in today's world, that affects our nation, our state, and so many families. And I know what it means to Anthony Grant, and for us to be able to help him accomplish this game experience, I think we feel good about it. Look, Xavier Dayton, we're also part of the Jesuit way, and I think this really fits that too.
Yeah, for sure.
Dayton, Cincinnati, those games, those are your favorite kinds of games, aren't they?
By the way, Dayton I don't think is Jesuit.
Marianist.
Yeah.
I wasn't going to.
Marianist.
I wasn't going to.
No, I'm getting that right. We're Jesuit, they're Marianist.
I wasn't going to
Boom. I want to make sure that everybody knows that I do understand the difference there. But I think everybody understood the spirit of what I was saying.
Yes.
Yeah. But the spirit of the game, Dayton, Cincinnati, those rivalry games, there's just a kind of little different look in your eye when you walk on the court. Those games fire you up, Coach.
Look, if you can't get excited about games that mean that to our fan base, and just the competitiveness of that feeling when you're in the arena, then you probably shouldn't be a part of college basketball. But no, we're looking forward to it. I do think it's a unique challenge for us. The second part of our preseason is we scrimmage Notre Dame. A year ago, they came to the Cintas Center. That's your typical closed scrimmage, but I thought it really helped our team last year. We learned a lot about our team. We grew, and I think that traveling to South Bend for, again, another away experience, playing a quality team from the ACC, the combination of going to UD Arena against Dayton and to South Bend against Notre Dame, although different, one's closed and one is open, I do think that that's going to be part of, 30 practices in 42 days. Those 2 days are a part of our 30, and they'll prepare us really well.
The one thing about the Dayton game, and I don't know if you know the answer to this, last year against Ohio State, that game was televised. That was on Valley Sports Ohio. I would assume that this game is going to be televised or streamed somehow. I haven't heard.
Yeah, I haven't heard. I know they're working through the details of it. I'm sure they'll announce it at some point.
The Sean Miller Podcast is proud to partner with Deer Park Roofing, a company that's provided elite service for homes and businesses since 1996 and leads the industry in professionalism, quality, and responsiveness. Whether your needs are residential or commercial, like the outstanding work on the Cintas Center, the home of Xavier basketball, Deer Park can handle any job and ensure it's done right. Deer Park's motto is protect what's important, and what's important to you is important to Deer Park Roofing. Visit deerparkroofing.com. The Sean Miller Podcast is proud to partner with Payroll Partners, where you're not just a number. That means providing a best-in-class HR and payroll experience that was built on award-winning technology and live support customer service with a dedicated payroll specialist who's just a phone call away. You shouldn't have to choose between technology and customer service. At Payroll Partners, you get both. Payroll Partners is locally owned and operated by a proud Xavier alum. Visit payrollpartners.net. That's payrollpartners.net.
Welcome back here to the Sean Miller Podcast. We appreciate you guys hanging out with us. Right now is personally it's my favorite time of year. Not because Jamar Chase practiced today, Coach. We'll get to that. But it's because basketball season is right around the corner. But what that also means is that football season is here.
Yeah.
And I know you're a football guy. I know you watched a decent amount of college football last weekend, but I figured we'd get into the NFL here a little bit. We've kind of touched on it here and there, but we've never really dived all the way in.
Well, before we get to the NFL, I just want to put this out there, and it's fun for me to talk about this because Xavier doesn't have a college football program, that allows me to just be myself. You don't have to watch Xavier, cheer for Xavier, be politically correct towards everything Xavier football, and not really be able to elaborate or talk about anybody else because that wouldn't be right.
Yep.
Well, we don't have football. And I'm telling you, the Miami Hurricanes, the U, they're back. They're back. I mean, what they did at the Swamp against Florida was really impressive. And not just judging Florida on how good they are or how not good they are, but man, there was a lot at stake for both teams in that game to go on the road in that temperature in front of that fan base, 0-0. Their quarterback, Cam Ward, I mean, he is a stud. And here's my point in bringing Cam Ward up. There's nobody who lives in the Midwest or East that has more of an affinity or knowledge of the Pac-12 more than me. I think that's a fair statement.
It's fair.
Sure.
There might be some that are on par with me, but I mean, I was the head coach at Arizona and I lived there for 12 years. I lived there for 13 years. I've been in Seattle. I've been in Corvallis. I mean, I've been in Pullman, Washington. I've watched games in that time zone, right? I never watched Cam Ward play one football game. I knew the name only because he was arguably the number one coveted quarterback or player in the portal, transfer portal, and I follow that. But how can you not know who Cam Ward is? He transfers to Miami, Florida, and I watch one college football Saturday, and I watch him for 2 hours, and I'm like, this guy's going to be an NFL quarterback. He's going to lead his team to the playoffs. The U is back. And damn it, he may win the Heisman. He is an absolute stud. I am stamping him. That's what I learned. And by the way, the tailback, the running back who he hands off to, he came from Oregon State. And he is a stud. I don't even know his name.
The Pac-12.
I should know his name, but I don't. I think his name's number 6, or his number was number 6. But you look at the U, like Mario Cristobal, who, by the way, came from Oregon. And I know one of the reasons he went after Cam Ward and the guy from Oregon State is, like me, he's like, there's some players out there that are really, really good. I then watched USC versus LSU, and I'm like, USC's still in the Pac-12 in my mind. And they beat LSU in Las Vegas. And think about who they lost from last year. I mean, that was like just as impressive, I thought, based on you lose the number one pick in the NFL draft. You lost some other talented players that left as well. And you reload and you get LSU on that field. But, college football, I agree with you. it changes the dynamic of the week and everything. And it's like we're back. If you love sports, but I love the NFL. Yeah. So it's 10-1 my love for the NFL over college football. But I'm going to say the Miami Hurricanes are going to make the college football playoff. Cam Ward will be a Heisman finalist, and Mario Cristobal will be one of the national coaches of the year this year, if not the national coach of the year.
All right.
Did you see the scene post-game at the Swamp with all the Miami players walking off the field with the recruits that were there in the front row?
Bad feeling for Florida.
Tough. All right, NFL.
Aboard the Rust
look,
bus.
The NFL, this is AFC North. I really love watching the Bengals. I live in Cincinnati, and our city is so much more alive when the Bengals are good. Since I've
returned,
is the
politically correct thing.
Since I returned back to Cincinnati, Joe Burrow's had 2 tough injuries that have both hurt him in the Bengals in the fall. So hopefully he stays healthy. Jamar comes back. So I'm really looking forward to it. When the Bengals are good, everybody's happy, so I'm happy. But look, I'm born and raised in Pittsburgh. I grew up watching Lynn Swann, Franco Harris, Rocky Bleier, Terry Bradshaw, John Stallworth, Mean Joe Green, Mike Webster, Donnie Shell, Mel Blount, Jack Ham, Tony Dungy.
Those roots run deep.
I don't know what to say other than 6-time world champs, black and gold, and it's about time. So, look,
are you optimistic?
Do I like the Steelers? No. I love the Steelers. I like the Bengals too. I know you're like, well, that's not politically correct, but that's how I truly feel. I watch them, I cheer for them.
I understand.
When it comes to the Steelers, that's blood. Like I grew up there.
Yeah.
In some ways, that's all we had. Yeah.
I think people would be more upset with you if you let those feelings go and you're like, oh, you know what, that's in the past.
No.
The fact that you still care the way you do, that speaks volumes.
Yeah.
Russ?
Is that the guy?
Is he the guy this year? Or?
Whoever Mike Tomlin tells me he's the starter, that's who's our guy. I'm all in. I'm trying to support the team as best I can, and look, we have a world-class defense. Hopefully, guys around him can support him, and if it doesn't work, I think Justin Fields could be the future.
How much do you get to watch? Do you get to do you DVR it and then go back later after practice, or do you
I watch a lot. My wife's also loves the Steelers. We both grew up there, so it gives us something to do. Not that we're looking for something to do, but it's something we enjoy doing. Think about an NFL game now. Like you're not going to sit down for 45 minutes and watch it. It takes some time. It takes the afternoon or the evening or what have you. But back to your original point, now that the NFL's on board, college football's up and running, we're getting ready for the beginning of college basketball. It is really a great time of year. Plus, I think that where we live, this is our best weather. It's sunny. It's still warm. It's a little bit cooler than July and August. And we have this runway of a couple months, and we all know what's coming. But so I think it's a collision of a lot of great things here at this time
last season, last college basketball season, I think at one point you came up to me and Paul and you're like, I haven't seen the sun and that's
I think it went 97 days by my count. I wrote them on my wall next to my bed. But we had a long stretch of gray, no doubt about it. But when you're in the gym and you're playing in the Big East, that's not your focus anyway, right?
That's right.
We're walking into the gym downstairs.
Let me ask you this, Adam. When do you switch and say, I would love a bowl of chili? You're not going to eat chili in July.
I will.
Really?
He's never turned down a bowl of chili.
But there's a time, you know what I mean, where chili, it's like smelling pumpkin.
Yeah.
You don't want to smell pumpkin
I think
and it's too hot.
October's a good answer for that.
Okay.
Especially like a homemade chili.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right at the beginning of October, yeah.
Yeah.
I am curious, though, because everyone who's watched Xavier or come to a Xavier game, it's easy to understand why you are the way you are when you're out there on the court, right? Like you care. You're trying to win a basketball game. What version of that appears when you're on the couch watching us? Are you...
I never can get there.
Really?
Yeah. I cheer for the teams that I want to cheer for. when you're a coach and you've been at it for a while, so I think I'm at 32 or 33 years as a college basketball coach, 20 years as a head coach, you have a lot of relationships. For example, Rich Rodriguez, I consider him a good friend of mine. Me and him were together. He was the football coach at Arizona when I was the basketball coach. I supported him. He supported me. We went through a lot of different highs and lows. He's originally from West Virginia. I'm originally from Pittsburgh, the whole Pitt, West Virginia rivalry. But, I grew to really respect him and love him. Mike Stoops, same thing. I got a chance to know Mike and Mark Stoops. Mark was his defensive coordinator when I first went to Arizona. Those guys welcomed me. They embraced me. They're from Youngstown, Ohio. I'm from, Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, really close together. So, you start to pull and cheer for coaches too, so what they're going through, your heart tears for them. So sometimes the spirit of me cheering in a game, and I probably speak for all coaches to some degree, it's more the person on the other sideline or on the bench that that's who your focus is on. You want them to win the game, or have a great season. So some of what I do in the fall is really just that right there. Yeah. I never met Mike Tomlin. I really hope that I get the chance to do that. But I certainly met a lot of those guys. Sean Payton would have been an assistant coach at Miami of Ohio on the football side of it for Randy Walker when Randy Walker was the head coach, when I was the assistant coach at Miami for Herb Sendek. So I got to actually know Sean back then. Yeah, it was amazing. Thinking
Miami's
back, that would have been
coaching.
1990. That would have been 1994 to 95, 96. Yeah.
Miami's like I think it's called the cradle of coaches or something. Is that right?
Yeah. Miami, Ohio.
Their coach,
Yeah.
their football coaching history it's ridiculous.
I mean, you could go down the whole.
Yeah.
You could go down the whole list.
But I wanted to ask you, have you been to a high school football game here in town?
Yeah, I mean, when I lived here the last time, those 8 years, I attended several. Yeah, I haven't since I've returned back, but I know that Friday night high school football is big.
That's what it's all about.
Ask the question.
I would personally love to welcome you over to the West Side.
There it is.
To the Pit. It's I believe it's been rated consensus best high school football stadium in the country.
Really?
Yeah. Yeah. And I think you would really like it.
I want to make sure that I'm clear on this. You asked me,
guy.
you're either a Pittsburgh guy or you're not. It's a yes/no answer.
Yep.
Don't be politically correct. I said, yeah, I'm born and raised in Pittsburgh. Of course, I love the Steelers. I do want to tell you though, I do pull for the Bengals as well. I know it doesn't sound right, but I love watching Joe Burrow and just going to a Bengals game is amazing.
Yeah.
The Who Dey chant is pretty cool. It's not the terrible towel, but I'd give it a close second. But I'm an East Sider.
I know.
Yeah, I'm on the East. It's Cincinnati. That's where I live. That's where my people are. That's where my favorite places are. That's where I operate when I'm away from Xavier. So
I understand
to get over
that.
there to the West, other than see my dear friends at Home City Ice, it takes something other than a football game. I need more of a carrot than that.
I'll have to work on that.
Stop renting your power, own it. TGE Solar makes it easy to purchase solar panels for your home or business so you can take control of your monthly electricity bill and start saving today. They'll help you find the best solar system to meet your needs, and their expert in-house installation team makes the process seamless. They're proud to be based in Cincinnati, family owned and operated by a Xavier alum. Mention this podcast and save $1,000. Visit TGESolar.com to request your free energy evaluation today. The Sean Miller Podcast is proud to partner with Xavier University's Williams College of Business, ranked the #1 online MBA in Ohio once again, and with nationally recognized concentrations in marketing, business analytics, entrepreneurship, and finance. The Xavier MBA advances your career. Classes are offered in part-time, full-time, online, and executive formats. Xavier alums receive a 25% tuition scholarship. Join Greater Cincinnati's largest MBA alumni network. Find out more at xavier.edu/MBA. Coach, as we kind of wrap this up here on the show today, just kind of want to turn it over to you. Season, like I said, right around the corner. Doesn't really seem like it now in the beginning of November or beginning of September, but beginning of November, it's going to be here before you know it. And I mean, with all the hype and attention and the new team and everything, it's been a lot of fun getting to have a lot of these players on the show this summer and getting to know a lot of these new guys. Still a couple of guys left that we want to get on the show. But just a lot of excitement building for this season.
Yeah, and look, we're looking forward to it. We're certainly working hard, trying to become a closer group, trying to become a better overall team, developing these guys. I do think I like our group. And, I'm excited for our fans. I don't know if people truly understand the amazing fan base we have. I mean, as far back as when we played in Schmidt Fieldhouse, but to the Cincinnati Gardens, changing leagues, changing coaches, nothing really has derailed our fan base. They show up, and, there's no greater gift as a competitive advantage that we can experience than buying season tickets, showing up at the games, even if you're out of town, making sure that our pageantry, the 10,200, the student section, and everything is united. All 17, 18 home games that we play. It's something that is sacred to us. It's the difference maker. The other coaches in our league, coaches that have coached in many, many arenas in this country, they'll pull me aside and they'll say, man, there's very few that rival the Cintas Center. So our fan base, I know we're excited to get back in front of them, and I'm just excited for all of us to get back together again.
I love coming up here for practice and seeing the campus alive again.
Yeah.
Right? Students are back and it's bustling and
Oh, you're right.
yeah, it's fun.
You're right.
All right. Adam, anything else before we sign off?
No. I went hatless tonight because my wonderful mom, she said, you wear your hat, I watch the show, I can't see your face, so shout out, Mom. I'm letting the dome shine here for the good people.
Nice.
We're at the get the glare off.
Yeah, Josh will fix that in post. My head does collect light.
Paul,
really
can I
well.
ask you one question before we get off the air?
Yeah, sure.
Do you not like to drink water? It's a yes/no question.
You have to be honest.
The answer right now, no. The answer is no, I don't. Why?
That's it. Show that I don't. We'll talk about this next show.
That is a good. It's a tease.
This has been the Sean Miller Podcast presented by Deer Park Roofing and our good friends at Payroll Partners as well, the official payroll sponsor of the Sean Miller Podcast. Maybe we need a hydration sponsor too. We'll be back next time on the Sean Miller Podcast.
This has been the Sean Miller Podcast, presented by Deer Park Roofing, with your hosts, Paul Fritschner and Adam Baum. Join us again soon for another episode with the head coach of the Xavier Musketeers, Sean Miller.